Welcome to a new review series. This one reviewing some wrestling. Yep, this is reviewing the very first episode of AEW Dynamite. I'm calling this one AEW Dynamite Review Episode 1. Okay, now, I actually started watching wrestling back in 2004 up until like 2014. I watched it for a pretty good period, basically about 10 years. Up until recently, I had not watched that much wrestling over the past 5 years, mainly because nothing much interests me at all. I mainly watched two wrestling organization programs, WWE and TNA slash Impact Wrestling. hmm For WWE, what got me to stop watching that for a while, for a long time, was when CM Punk left, because I really enjoy seeing the guy compete in the ring, because the guy basically is a good wrestler and he cuts a really good promo. I heard the reason why he left because the fact that WWE doctors were terrible to him, the fact that they apparently went on actual time off to actually, heal up, and the fact he had a big baseball staph infection in his freaking back that WWE doctors refuse to treat. I'm like, what the hell is your problem, WWE doctors? Treat this man's thing. I mean, this thing is causing him problems. And yet you refuse to treat it. He went to a different doctor, for I heard, to get this treated, and he's basically sleeping perfectly fine now. What got me to watch Impact Wrestling? I mean, I started watching in 2006 when Kurt Angle debuted for the company, and the first thing he did, had a confrontation with Samoa Joe, gave him a big headbutt, and got his big blood to come down his freaking forehead. And these guys brawl for compared to break up, not only by teenage security, but also the wrestlers. I was surprised they brought out so many. Now, when I started watching wrestling, I didn't have DirecTV or Dish Network back then, watching just SmackDown. Now, on SmackDown, you had a few championships. You had the WWE Championship, the United States Championship, the Cruiserweight Championship, and the WWE Tag Team titles. The ones whose legacy is now the Raw Tag Team titles on Run That Raw. And they look completely different than nowadays. Now they're just basically nickel belts. Back then, from what I can tell by looking at them and of course seeing older versions of the tag titles fit on Raw, they kind of basically design-wise look very similar to that of the previous World Tag Team title belts. They took that design and just basically that big belt look and basically gave that design to those belts, which those were really good. I like the designs of these belts. I really didn't like the fact they placed it with the ugly nickel belts. Which I kept thinking, why can't WWE basically use a different belt for the tag team titles? Why, I don't know. Why not bring back the old titles? I mean, I heard something that Revival were taking pictures with the classic tag team titles from the 90s. Yep. Now, who was champions back at the particular time I was watching wrestling? WWE champion was JBL during his 9-month reign as WWE champion. Yeah, the United States champion was John Cena when he was his Dr. Thuganomics phase. The tag team champions first were Paul London, not Brian Kendrick. Some people would think Paul London and Brian Kendrick. It was actually Paul London and Billy Kidman. Before they dropped the tag team titles to Kenzu Suzuki and Rene Dupree. Yes, these guys held the tag team titles for a little while, and then they were scheduled to defend the titles against Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio. Yeah. And then GM. Now, GM, when I started watching, was Kurt Angle. Yes. After basically like a month, he got fired and replaced with Theodore Long, who was GM for about 3 years before he had his heart attack during his on-screen wedding with Crystal Marshall. Yeah. So basically, even though they were scheduled to defend against Rey Mysterio and RVD, they decided to defend that very night on Thursday. Yeah, this is when they air on Thursday. This was when they were pre-taped, not live they are nowadays. And they won, and then they had to have a rematch of the titles. They had their match at, I don't remember what pay-per-view it was, and of course they won. Now in the case of AEW Dynamite. Oh, who was the Cruiserweight champion at that point? I think it was Rey Mysterio was the Cruiserweight champion at that point. Yeah, I think he was Cruiserweight champion at that point. Now AEW. The current AEW World Champion is Chris Jericho. Now for the episode But how about the episode itself? We get first introduced to the commentary team for the episode. Excalibur, a man in a mask. I don't have a problem with this guy, he's pretty enjoyable. Good old JR, Jim Ross, and former WCW play-by-play commentator Tony Schiavone, who has got a beard now. Yeah, this is the first time I saw him in modern day footage. Like, this is the first time modern day stuff I've seen, because the only time I've seen this guy is in stock footage on WWE on YouTube. Man, the man is a good commentator, and he just basically does play-by-play with JR. I'm surprised that my only guess is I heard the rumor that they brought him in because he was part of Nitro. Yep. And they mentioned during the first match, which was between the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes against Sammy Guevara. Before this match, I was vaguely familiar with him. I knew about the fact that he would compete in a tag team match with MJF and Shawn Spears, which I think they won. Yep. If you wonder how old Sammy Guevara is, he's 26. And he comes out dressed like a freaking bear. My friend Edgar basically explains it's a panda suit. I had never seen this guy wrestle before. The guy is a really good wrestler. He wrestled a good match against Cody Rhodes. A match where Cody Rhodes actually won. Though at one point, he actually used Cody Rhodes' own wife, Brandy Rhodes, who was the chief brand officer of AEW. Cody is one of the executive VPs of the company, along with other members of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. I'll get to them soon. Oh yeah, and here's something interesting though that AEW has that WWE still to this day does not have. They did have this briefly back in the 80s. A female referee. Oh yeah, and here's something I love about this referee. She's not stupid. She's not that stupid to get a rep bump. She basically avoids getting hit by the wrestlers. She does a frickin' job. Unlike WWE referees half the time, where they keep getting wrestlers' way and they keep getting rep bumps. I heard about this one story where during the match between Undertaker and Triple H at WrestleMania 17, a match that WWE just doesn't want to mention actually happened, even though that, according to records, it did happen. There is footage of this match. Probably the reason why is because Vince McMahon actually hates the biker Undertaker gimmick. He hated that thing. And during that match, the referee was knocked out for 11 minutes. Like, how the heck can a referee be knocked out for that long and not be called for a DQ? Yeah, eventually in the match, as for Cody and Sammy Guevara, of course, they also mentioned during the match, the first match that happened on WCW Nitro apparently happened between Jushin Thunder Liger and the late Brian Pillman. And according to JR, they fought also there, but they also fought also back in the early 90s. I think it was part of one of the WCW shows, but it was a nice thing to bring up. Of course, they did not bring up that the last time, what happened during the last match on WCW Nitro. I have seen footage of this match. It's a really good match when they had Ric Flair fight against Sting. Yep. Of course, in the case of the Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara, Cody Rhodes wins of course, they had this time limit. They had this like all the matches except for the AEW women's match and the final match of the evening. The first two matches were done in 20-minute time limits. Cody managed to finish this match in just, I'd say, about 15 minutes. Yeah, took a pretty good period of time. And it was a really damn good match. After the match, Tony Schiavone comes into the ring, try to get an interview with Cody Rhodes, until he's attacked by his opponent for Full Gear, the Alpha, Chris Jericho, the AEW World Champion. He beats the living crap out of him, and then we cut to commercial break, and he comes back to commercial break. He's still beating the crap out of the man. Yep. Eventually, and this is something I do agree that the AEW should have done. I mean, one hand you have your world champion, you also have one of your executive VPs getting this crap beat by your world champion, and you don't have more referees or security out there to stop Chris Jericho? I guess not. What about the next match? MJF versus Hangman Adam Page. Yep. Now, of these two, I had never seen these two wrestlers before. Hangman Page is actually part of the Elite, though apparently JR forgot to mention that at the end of the first episode. I'll get to that soon. They fight a pretty good match until MJF wins. Now, this is, of course, they also mentioned this is also Adam Page's first AEW match since he lost to Chris Jericho at no, it was MJF. It wasn't MJF fought. It was he fought Pac. Yeah, he fought freaking Pac, who the announcer just referred to as the bastard Pac. Yeah, and I don't think anybody talked about this. Pac is freaking huge. He is so beefy. Like he's basically ripped. He's got tons of muscles on him. He's got long hair covering his face. I'm like, how the heck can man see with a bunch of hair covering his face? Eventually, he fights. Yeah, he fights Adam Page and he wins. Adam Page, this is, I believe, was his second match ever in AEW, and he lost. He's basically 2-0. And of course, they mentioned prior to the company, losses do matter. Oh, who did MJF fight? A guy called Brandon Cutter, who was just an old friend, I think of. He went to high school with the Young Bucks. Yeah, their match was pretty short. Like, I'd say about 5-6. It felt like went about 10 minutes. Pac versus Hangman Adam Page. That took about 15 minutes. Now, fun fact, this match was actually supposed to take place at the first AEW event, Double or Nothing, but politics got in the way. Yes, because at the time, Pac was the Dreamgate, he was the Dragon Gate Open, the Dreamgate champion. That's what he was at the point. He had no plans on losing. So, they had sort of a match on Ring of Honor, which apparently Ring of Honor's let this happen, which he also injured his leg and apparently affected him throughout the summer. Yep. So, they finally have their match, and Pac wins. Yep. The next match is for the... Well, before we get to the next match, they have this segment where, sort of brief promo, we have SoCal Uncensored. It's made up of Head of Talent Relations, the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels. Yeah, I remember this guy from Impact Wrestling. Along with his tag team partner, also from Impact Wrestling, Frankie Kazarian. I remember when these guys first formed in the awful Clear Lynch storyline. Yep. Their partner, I've never seen this guy before, is, it's not Too Cold Scorpio, it's, what is this man's name? There it is. Oh, Scorpio Sky. That's his name, Scorpio Sky. Yeah, they were deciding who was going to compete in the upcoming tag team tournament that's going to take place next week. Yeah, there's like, okay, someone besides Frankie Kazarian. So he chooses Christopher Daniels as, well, the people who represent SoCal Censorship. And then the Lucha Brothers show up. They cut a promo thinking they're better. And then they sort of have a brawl right there on the stage. I gotta talk about the stage. The stage is very similar to the old Impact Wrestling set, where there are two tunnels. The tunnel on the left is for the heels. The tunnel on the right is for the faces. Yeah. Let's see, what else? Yeah, and after this we have the AEW Women's Championship match. The crown the first ever AEW champion. We have Rio, who is a wrestler who's been wrestling since she was 9. Yes. And Nyla Rose, a transgender. Yep, transgender woman. Who was big. Who a lot of people thought was going to win this match. It's a pretty good match. It lasts, and this one had no time limit to it. This match lasted for a good, while. I'd say this match felt like for almost 20 minutes. It went back and forth. Eventually, Rio pins her and becomes the new first AEW Women's Champion. And the belt looks kind of small. Yeah, it looks like pretty small belt. Probably the fair around her waist. Yep. And then she's about to get interviewed from let's just say you have this interviewer coming to the ring. I've never seen this guy before. He's about to interview in Japanese, and then Nyla Rose basically just comes in, pushes Rio out of the way, gives the other guy a power bomb, and about to attack. And she's about to be attacked by and after a brawl attack, and then all of a sudden Kenny Omega shows up and saves her from a beatdown from Nyla Rose. Yeah, it's revealed during the match. Apparently, Kenny Omega trained her. Yeah, one of her trainers. That was very nice of them to mention that. And then, of course, the next thing came right after that is the 6-man tag team match that ended the particular show. While on one side you had the Elite, made up of Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks versus the AEW World Champion, Chris Jericho, and LAX. Though it's Santos and Ortiz. Though I still think these guys is LAX. I've seen some footage of these guys. Yeah, they're really good duo. They actually placed the original LAX, which is comprised of Homicide Hernandez with Conan's later. Now, this version, Conan was still the boss, but these two guys were the new LAX. And of course, they did have a feud with the original LAX, which they call the OGs. I never watched it, but yeah, I did watch the beginning of it, but I never watched the whole feud itself. Yep. They actually recently left Impact Wrestling, while the Lucha Brothers actually still work there. My only guess is because they have their independent contractors work wherever they want. They're also currently, I should point out that the Lucha Brothers are also the AAA World Tag Team Champions right now. Yeah, they're two of three people who work for the company who actually have a belt. Who actually have a championship besides AEW World Champion. Yep. First to come out is the Heels. You have, first it's Santos Ortiz and the AEW World Champion. And eventually the Elite comes out. And then they start their fight. Well, first it's off with Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. Maybe we're gonna see like another fight between them, like what happened at Double or Nothing. But nope, he runs out and he just tags in with his associates. They fight for a while, and then Jon Moxley shows up. Yep, Jon Moxley ambushes him, brawls him straight to the VIP area, and of course they have a little mention of his nickname, the Cleaner, where you wax Jon Moxley with a freaking mop. Yep, and he gets to the VIP area, and they brawl, and of course Jon Moxley's banging his head against the door, and then they do like a suplex right into a freaking glass table, which I'm sure probably hurt Jon Moxley a lot more than Kenny Omega. Moxley's got shards in his back. Eventually, you have the Heels win, and then they continue beating down the Young Bucks, and then they're trying to be saved by Cody Rhodes. He gets beat down, and then his brother shows up, Dustin Rhodes. Full gear of the makeup. And then, just by sheer shock, Jack Swagger shows up, aka Jack. He's not known as Jake Hager. Yeah. Fun fact about this guy: Jim Ross actually recruited this guy for WWE. That's not a joke. He seriously did. At the time I first saw this guy, he was clean shaven. He actually grew his beard like toward the end of his WWE time. Yeah, when I last saw him, he was teaming up with Zeb Coulter, a guy who was a bigot. Yeah, somebody who hated everybody who was not American. He was a xenophobic jerk. And apparently they were called by Glenn Beck being way too similar to him. And that's where he got his beard from. And here's the thing, he is currently also an MMA fighter now. Yep. And of course, everybody gets all beat down. And of course, Chris Jericho's got his belt. And of course, we have the formation of a new supergroup comprised of the former LAX, Jake Hager. Of course, we also have Sammy Guevara comes down to work with Chris Jericho. Of course, he also gives Cody Rhodes a low blow. We have formation of a new group, which with Chris Jericho as the boss. I mean, this group kind of reminds me of, like, the Four Horsemen, the original heel DX from the early 90s. I've seen footage, I didn't watch what was happening. First I watched DX was actually in 2006 when they had the Revival, and it was hilarious. And, of course, Evolution is also very similar to that, because you have Jack Hager as kind of like Dave Bautista, where he's the enforcer. Sammy Guevara is like Randy Orton, who is just like the young upstart. Of course, Chris Jericho's like Triple H. As for the former LAX, probably the Brainbusters. Yeah. But who knows what they're going to call this group. If I'm going to call this group something, I would call this group Venom. Because that's what they are, Venom. Probably an interesting name for them, but yeah. This first episode was really good. Yeah, something that we end the first episode with the formation of a heel stable. Yeah. Oh yeah, and JR mentions that The whole elite has been decimated. Really? What about Hangman on Page? He's clearly not here helping them because clearly the only people who helped out the Young Bucks. Of course, I know Kenny Omega couldn't because he got basically put through a glass table, so he couldn't help out. So okay, so the only people who helped the Young Bucks were the Rhodes brothers. Yeah, just the brothers. I'm a little surprised they couldn't have. Oh, I don't know. Could have Arn Anderson help them out. Well, he probably would have been destroyed by Jack Hager. One person probably could help them out. Maybe Hangman and Page. But even though he lost, he still could help them out. And he's still a member of the Elite. Unknown why he couldn't help them during his final beatdown when ended the particular episode. Yep. Fantastic episode. Looking forward to next week's episode. Hopefully they give this group a name. For now, I'm calling this group Venom. Because that's what they are. Venom. It's a group of 5 evil heels. Yeah. And this is basically piquing my interest. Alright? So, yeah. That's it for this particular review. Next review. A movie review. I'm reviewing a film that came out 2 years ago. Okay? Do this next review. Bye.